Wow, what a game from a neutral perspective. That for me was like prime Barclays. It wasn't about this technical tiki-taka stuff. This was old school, physical, rattle the opponent game. And you know what? I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the Bruno Guimares winding up Arsenal. And I think Newcastle did really well in the sense of they just wound up Arsenal. They got them riled up. And Arsenal just couldn't concentrate on that football they wanted to play in possession, and Newcastle got the battle they want of intensity, strength, physicality, which I think is what Newcastle want. And you have to say, Newcastle's defence was unbelievable. Lascelles, what a job he's doing in the place of Botman. Livramento comes on because Dan Burn is injured. What a fantastic job he does. Martinelli, Saka, one of the worst games they've had for Arsenal. I think part of it is down to Arteta's mismanagement of those two players. I think Saka's injured or something. He's just not been right. But you have to give it to the Newcastle defence. Trippier, Livramento, Lascelles, Dan Burn and Schar, fantastic. You know, Lascelles is coming in. They've got a lot of injuries, Newcastle, and Burn and Murphy is going to be added to that list. They had a lot of important players missing Newcastle. Very, very thin bench. And what a result it was for them. And unfortunately, a lot of the conversation, a lot of focus is going to be on VAR this, VAR that. And look, VAR shambles. I support Man United. We had a goal ruled out for absolutely no reason because of some subjective offside, which has never happened before in football. And it infuriates me. And I've been complaining that VAR are looking for ways to rule out goals. So I actually was in favour of Newcastle getting that goal because actually the ball was just on. I don't think it was a foul. I think the offside is a debatable one. But I see a lot of Arsenal fans crying, oh, it's offside, we're robbed. I'll be honest with you. You didn't score a goal. You had 2 shots in the last 40 minutes. You didn't score a goal. Your attack produced nothing. If you're an Arsenal fan, because I'm a Man United fan, and we've been robbed by VAR a lot this season, but I have to then stop blaming VAR after 90 minutes when I look back at the performance and go, were we unlucky with VAR? We can argue that. Were we good enough to get the points? No. I look at Arsenal. Declan Rice, absolutely phenomenal. Declan Rice was probably man of the match up there with Newcastle's back four. Newcastle's back four, Declan Rice, probably the best players on the pitch. But as a collective, going forward, Arsenal didn't score. They didn't fret and poke. They didn't look like scoring. They were toothless in attack. And part of that is because Newcastle was so good. So Arsenal fans can moan and cry and say that they've lost as much as they want and say they were robbed. But you were never going to win that game because you didn't score a goal. You have to score a goal to win a game. So you can cry that you were robbed, but you weren't good enough at the end of the day. And Newcastle got the goal, suited their game plan. They sat back and they defended really, really well. And I think that sort of helped Newcastle because they had to bring on people like Matt Ritchie and stuff. And they have a very depleted squad at the moment. But Anthony Gordon, fantastic season he's having. Newcastle defence, fantastic. And, you know, I see a lot of Arsenal fans crying about the goal and that. But look, the ball is in. Just about. This is, you can see just about the ball is in. And the reason I was in favour of that goal being given is not because I don't like Arsenal or anything like that, but because I support Man United and we've had so many goals ruled out. And I've always sort of been in favour of VAR not ruling goals and giving the benefit of the doubt. Like if it's offside and you have to look at it for 5 minutes and get these lines out, stop it. You know, if it's a silly foul like the one that, you know, we gave away on Rodri for the Man City penalty the other day at United, just stop it. Do you know what I mean? I think for me, you know, I was fuming when the ball didn't go out of play, but Rasmus Højlund's goal was disallowed because they weren't sure if the ball went out of play or not. That I was very much like, it would be a hypocrite for me not to say that Newcastle's goal should be given because Man United got a goal ruled out for the exact same thing of the Newcastle goal, and it definitely infuriated me. But enough with the VAR talk. You know, that unfortunately is going to get most of the talk, is going to get most of the focus. But I think the focus should be on, 1, Declan Rice was fantastic. 2, Arsenal have problems in their midfield. Problem was creating. Their wingers look out of ideas and they look a bit exhausted. But I think the main focus is on the strength, the physicality, the athleticism of the Newcastle squad, which ultimately won them again. And won them the game. And one of my favourite players at the moment for Newcastle is Joelinton. It's crazy that he used to be a striker, but physically he was winning everything. Got the assists, 2 key passes, 2 tackles, 2 interceptions, 2 clearances, 3 ground duels, 1 full ball recoveries. You know, this guy he's immensely physical and stuff. And, you know, he's, I think, a really, really good player. And where Arsenal lost and where Newcastle won was physicality. Newcastle, you know, made it a fight, made it about physicality. I think if you made it possession ball about technicality, Arsenal would beat Newcastle. Arsenal, a more technically gifted team in possession. But Newcastle got what they wanted. They riled up Arsenal. They frustrated them. They got the crowd behind them. The crowd riled up Arsenal, and it became this prime Barclays physicality battle with spirit focus, strength focus. And Newcastle probably, in terms of athleticism, the best squad in the Premier League. You think of technical ability, Man City are the best. You think of athleticism, the amount of ground they can cover, the amount they can press, the amount of work rate, attitude, physicality. There's no one better than Newcastle. That Newcastle midfield, people like Joelinton and people like Longstaff and people like Bruno G, and like that Newcastle midfield, a lot of teams can't cope with physically, and that again showed with Arsenal today, because Arsenal are a very good side. Arsenal unbeaten in the Premier League before today, but Newcastle have shown that on their day, because they're so physically good, athletically good, they can beat anyone. Newcastle have beaten Man City, PSG, Man United, and Arsenal this season. They're on a really, really good run. And I want to talk about Livramento. I want to talk about Trippier. I want to talk about a lot of things. I think from the Arsenal perspective, Arsenal are struggling to break a low block. I think Arsenal were poor today. Their centre mids aren't really showing on the pitches is enough. Declan Rice can't do it all himself. And I think, Arsenal were a little bit boring to watch. They need a centre forward. Maybe they are missing someone like Xhaka. They look like now their wingers aren't really producing anything. The balance looks off. And I thought Arsenal were poor. And that's why I don't agree with Arsenal fans saying they were robbed when, I'm watching this from a neutral perspective who probably slightly prefers Newcastle to Arsenal. I won't lie to you. I probably did want Newcastle to win out of the two, but I don't think Arsenal did enough to keep saying they're robbed. I think it's crazy. I think it should be about, okay, maybe Newcastle got a little bit of luck with the goal, but at the end of the day, I always think give the benefit of the doubt with the goal. I hate it when goals are ruled out. I think it ruins football, but Newcastle defended so well. Newcastle fought, they won the battle, they worked harder, they gave 110%. It meant everything to Newcastle, and they defended like a unit. That Newcastle side is an absolute beast, and the intensity of it was prime Barclays, guys. Prime Barclays Premier League was the intensity of it. Really good team performance from Newcastle. Everyone gave 110%. Everyone got back behind the ball. Everyone did the press. Everyone worked hard. And that's why I liked watching it as a neutral, because I was like, this isn't about tiki-taka. This is like prime Barclays, physical battle, wind each other up. Bruno Guimares probably should have been off the pitch, let's be honest, but it was kind of entertaining, the fact that he was just running at people. It's like he wanted to get sent off, Bruno Guimares. He was running at people like a headless chicken. He's crazy, but he's that mentality monster. And people don't like Bruno Fernandes because he kind of runs at people and moans and whines. But I just think it's part of the game. And I think Bruno Guimares has got that as well. It's crazy. But I've always said, people are going to struggle at St. James's Park this year because of the physicality and athleticism of the Newcastle side. I think Trippier, Schar, Lascelles, Burn, Livramento, all unbelievable. Longstaff was great. Joelinton was great. Gordon got the goal as well. And Arsenal didn't have a sniff. And I want to particularly talk about the fullbacks here because I think, Saka and Martinelli have been two of Arsenal's sort of best players this season. And I don't really remember Saka and Martinelli doing anything. I really don't. The best attacker on the pitch was Anthony Gordon. Poacher today didn't have a lot of the ball and attack. Newcastle weren't at their best in the first half, but they made their chances count. They absolutely made their chances count. And with the injuries they've got, I think Eddie Howe got it right. I think Eddie Howe got it spot on. It was about, we can't beat them in possession. We can't play them out the park. But what we can do is we can beat them physically. We can run more than them. We're fitter than them. We'll wind them up. We'll try and put them off their game, and we'll try and turn it into a physical battle. And that's 100% what they did. I think the Arsenal backline did a decent job, to be fair to them. I just think the Arsenal attack looked out of ideas. But we have to talk about that game in general. I thought Livramento was really impressive. I don't think Martinelli got past him once. He blocked a shot. He made an interception. He made 3 tackles there. Livramento, I don't know if you can see that. That'll be probably tiny on your screen. But he made 3 tackles there, Livramento. Only got dribbled past once, won 5 out of 7 duels. I mean, Livramento was fantastic today, and I watched him play against United, and he was really impressive. And I think, Newcastle was struck gold with Livramento there. He's looking like some fantastic player. Again, was brilliant against United. He's only 20 years of age. He's only going to get better. Schar and Lascelles look like an absolute unit today. It's crazy to think that Lascelles is someone that's not got long left on his Newcastle contract. It's coming in for Botman, but, and was, someone that Newcastle fans might have considered selling not long ago, and now he's been solid. And I look at Newcastle, and I'll be honest, if they bring in a top centre-back, a top right winger, and a top DM so Bruno Guimares can get further forward, I think they can challenge. I think that's the area that they need. I think they've got a really good team, a really good personnel. And That is what won them the game. And I think Trippier, we don't need to talk about Trippier because everyone knows how good Trippier has been. I thought Lascelles could be arguably man of the match. I thought Schar was fantastic. Livramento was fantastic. Joelinton was good. Longstaff was good. I mean, Bruno Guimares, again, he's an absolute madman, isn't he, Bruno G? He probably should have been sent off, but makes 3 key passes. Just ran around, was tackling people, desperate to get in. And, I think what Newcastle have over other teams is that mentality. They have players that fight, they have players that give up, they have players that give 110%, but they've also got a good manager in Eddie Howe, because Eddie Howe, defensively has really improved that Newcastle side. They're one of the hardest teams to break down. Arsenal were struggling, their defensive unit, and Eddie Howe sort of changed that game into a 4-5-1 mid-block when Newcastle went 1-0 up, and that completely shut Arsenal out. Because when Newcastle scored, I can't think of a big chance that Arsenal had. Arsenal had 80% possession. Arsenal had a lot of the ball, but for Arsenal to not really have the sniff with 80% possession, when Arsenal have been one of the best teams in the league going forward the last season and a half, credit to Newcastle where credit is due. And look, maybe Newcastle was a little bit lucky with the goal, but I'm in favour of VAR not ruling out goals, more giving people the benefit of the doubt if it's a close decision, because I think football's about goals and it takes the fun out of the game. I think Bruno Guimares probably should have been sent off, and maybe Arsenal can say that they were done unlucky by the referees, but it does happen to everyone. But at the end of the day, you can't take any credit away from Newcastle. Arsenal didn't score, they didn't look like scoring, they didn't have a sniff. Newcastle were never going to win that game with VAR or not, because Newcastle defended so well. Maybe it would have been 0-0, but Newcastle got there in the end, and they're clinical as well, and Anthony Gordon's been fantastic. Please do hit that like button. Let me know your thoughts down below on the match. See you next time. Bye.